as for the people, they're just going to stay haters until they decide to become active co-creators in that area of their life. So inside of the mind of the hater is simply someone who is taking a passive route of life. Hello, fellow deep thinkers, and thank you for tapping into another episode with me, Dr. Moe, where we tap into the subconscious and we understand the whys and the hows of everything that happens around us. So this is a conversation that I know many of you all were excited to hear when I told you all that it was going to be the next episode. I know it's been a little over a week since the last, well, it hasn't been that long. It's been a few days. What? It's been a week, I think. Anyway, okay. It's been a little over a week since the last episode here, and it's because I wanted to make sure that I tapped into all of the pieces that I really wanted to discuss on this topic. Because when we talk about our haters, it's like there's so many different things that we could look at when it goes into that. So in this conversation today, we're going to be breaking down the haters. We're going to be breaking down the motivation of the haters. We're going to be breaking down what makes them hate on you. We're going to be looking at what goes on within their brain and their mind and their subconscious that brings them to this place of being a hater to begin with. And the goals is that by the end of the session, you have a deeper understanding from at least my perspective, right? Because you're tapping in with my perspective. And there will be times where I'm going to ask you questions as well in the comments to let me know your thoughts on particular questions as well. But of understanding exactly what's going on with a hater, why do you have this hater, and how can you best use that hater for your benefit? So if you are already totally tapped in with this frequency here on this channel, which means you are already subscribed to the channel, you've hit the thumbs up on the channel already or on the video. If you have not already, my hopes is that by the end of this session, you find that this is a space that you would like to be in to, tap into those deeper conversations about things and see what's really going on below the surface. So it could be assumed that if you clicked on this video that in some way you have heard of a hater before, whether you feel like you have had a hater before, whether you have hated on someone before, I am not judging you here in this space, or you've noticed someone else being hated on, or you've noticed someone else hating on another individual. It could be one of those things that brought you here to this space. So you may have already heard of what a hater is, but I still wanted to break down into like a simple definition of what a hater is presumed to be, because that's going to be very beneficial as we get deeper into understanding the motivations behind everything and why it happens. Okay. So one of the first definitions of being a hater is the aspect of just having like a strong disdain or a dislike for something that someone does. Some people may see that as being a hater from a perspective. It could be someone who's overly like negative and critical towards something that you're doing and you're working on, and you notice that they're being overly critical with you, but they're not really being overly critical with anyone else. Some people may see this as being like a target of someone who is hating on them, who has a problem with them. And all in all, it feels like someone who is doing something in an attempt to try to sabotage you or to hurt you or to bring you down into a space where you really probably don't want to be. And so that is usually what a hater is seen as, someone who is working against you in some form of way, like an opposition. Now, when it comes to the talk of haters, there's different perspectives that some people have towards a hater. You have some people who it's like, I welcome the haters, okay? And you can let me know down in the comments who you are. But are you the one who's like, I welcome the haters, come into my life, you are welcome here? And then you have individuals who are just like, so what makes the difference between the person who welcomes it and the person who loathes it? It has a lot to do with their personal experiences of what they have experienced when it came to the hating, how confident they are to react to that energy. It goes down to their own personal personality, their own personal brain makeup, their own personal brain personality on how they choose to approach this conflict or this issue or this problem. Some people who welcome it, they use it as fuel, as a way to help, fuel them of like, oh, if someone is hating on me, then it must mean that I'm doing something well, right? So you have those individuals who welcome it in that manner. Then you have those who they loathe it. They cry over it. They're like, why is this person hating on me? Why does this person hate me? Okay. So there's different ways that people approach the topic of haters and having haters to just begin with. I'm interested in hearing from you all down below. I know I have experienced the aspect of both. And so I know it also can depend on the degree of where that hating is coming from. So for some, it could hurt worse if that degree of what is presumed to be hating comes from someone who you love, someone who you care about, someone who, you feel like you had some type of connection to, okay? And so with that, it's like that presumed energy of just like, wow, why are they coming at me like this? Or wow, why are they, responding to me in this manner? That can hit a little differently than someone who you've never seen before, or you have no idea who they are, or let alone if you know if they exist. And now drink to that. It's nice and cold. Ooh. Now, how a person chooses to react to someone who comes up against them, it all lies in their perspective of the situation, their assessment of the situation, if they feel like it's worth them addressing it, if they are someone who is into conflict, or if they are someone who chooses to avoid conflict. And then also you have your brain processing type. And if you all want, we can go into a video on different brain processing types if you would like. But it all depends on all of those pieces that make up an individual, on how they relate to, or how they perceive, or how they internalize, how another person reacts or interacts with them. So one could say that there is a particular archetype of a hater. So there are certain characteristics that when you see this is a hater. This person does not mean you well, okay? And I'm interested in hearing from you all down below on some of those characteristics that you perceive to be like, if this person does this, then like, yeah, I need to, look twice. I need to, kind of question what I do around you. Okay. I am interested to hear from you all down below. And so I'm going to share some from my perspective of what I've gathered from just learning from other people, from my own personal experiences as well. So a hater can be typically someone, one of the first things is that when you have something positive happening in your life, they have a hard time celebrating you. So they may disappear, or they may like totally ignore everything as if like, oh, they don't see it, or they purposely will choose to, not acknowledge something in regards to what you did. Now, this could be seen as a hater because what is going on within the mentality of just like, I really don't see why you should be celebrated. Okay, so and innately this person sees like, I really don't see how you deserve to be celebrated in this situation. And most times is that they want you to question why they didn't celebrate you. They want you to, ask them. They want you to come to them individually and be like, did you see this? Or, because typically they would do this in like a larger setting. Now they may even do this in like a one-to-one conversation, or where it's only a few of you all and you mention something and they just totally gloss over it and don't mention it or honor it. Okay. And so this in some way could be seen as a hater. Now do understand that some people, they can sometimes gloss over things and information, and it can be a technical, error on their point. But in a lot of times, most times, oftentimes, it's done purposefully. Another thing that stands out on someone that may showcase behaviors of being a hater, pay attention to how they look at you and like their vibes and their energy when you're talking. Do you catch them having like sideways looks and glances at you, or catching frowns at you, or like they're just never in this good, happy, or any type of energy? Is always some type of sideway form of communication with them? That's something that you really want to pay attention to, because that person is in their resting face. Some may say a resting RBF face. Well, RBF is face, but you get what I'm saying. But this person is showing just their subconscious is acting like they don't have to like catch themselves and have on this fake face because they're in this place of comfort, and it's showing you how they feel, you know, when it in regards to you. Now, another example of hating can be someone gossiping about you. So someone, whether taking information that you told them about you or about a situation and them gossiping about it, talking about it as if they just want to bring up some type of conversation to make conversation. So they use you and your personal information, something that makes you look bad. It makes you look, at least in their eyes, right? It makes you look bad. It makes you look a certain type of way. Or they do that as a way to try to fish for other people to make comments on how they feel about you, how they see you, how they perceive you. And so that can also be a sign of someone who was hating on you, because they are always trying to converse about you and talk about you and identify when something is wrong. And that is another piece of an individual who you may want to look at in regards to hating, someone who is always finding something is wrong with you. They never tell you anything is good. They never tell you that, oh, you're doing well with this. Oh, I feel like you have a strength in this area. Oh, I feel like you would do great to go in this area. They're always just, oh, you need to do this like this. Or, oh, you should have did this like this. Or, oh, you don't know what you're doing right here. And, oh, it's like every time it's them correcting something that you're doing as if you're never good enough, because in their eyes, they need you to not feel good enough. And we're going to get into that later on when we get into the subconscious and the brain portion of that and what I mean, because that's like an overarching stereotype in this space. It could also be someone doing something intentionally as a way to try to trigger you or to get you to react in a certain type of way. So either a person can do something intentionally behind your back as a way to try to sabotage something for you, to try to sabotage an opportunity that may be coming up available for you, or this is an individual who attempts to do things to get you to do something that negatively affects you. And so this is like where they say poking the bear. Okay, so sometimes your haters, it's like they won't do the direct work, but they'll come to you gossiping about what this person said about you and how this is, you know, happening behind your back. And it's like, it can be easy to take your eyes off of the fact that why are they in these spaces so often that is talking about you? And they're there for a while, which means that they're not standing up or saying anything. So either they are very much so connected to just wanting all the gossip, which is a red flag, or they are someone who is also communicating in this space, or they're lying. Okay. But most times these things are happening as a way to arouse you, to get you to react in a certain type of way so that you could be viewed in a different way. And the entire time, this was their plan. Their plan was for you to sabotage an opportunity for you. Okay. So pay close attention to the people who always have something to tell you about what someone else said, what they did, what they didn't do, because you want to stop and be like, wait, hold on. Why were you there? And why are you always there? Because they're enjoying the party too. Boop. Now, another type of hater could be someone who they may not want to see you succeed. So I just heard, you know, the song, I Just Want to Be Successful, but this could be someone who does things to try to pull you back. And a lot of times you see this within like family and intimate relationships where someone, you know, they talk down to you and things of that nature to try to get you to not want to succeed in a situation. Or it could be someone who's purposefully trying to come up against you in a situation. So say you're entering into a contest and you tell a friend of yours, hey, yeah, I'm entering into this contest. I'm really, really excited. I really, really want to do this. And they go behind your back and enter into the same contest. They take what they learned about what you were putting into the contest, because you shared with them about your application and everything. And they made sure that whatever they did was better. Okay? That is not a friend. That is a hater. That is someone who they would have a hard time seeing you being successful at something, and they want to come in and take over for that. Okay. And so haters can show up in so many different spaces in so many different ways. I am totally interested in hearing from you all down below an example of what is a hating example. I know I've shared in my book, Live Out Loud, Following Your Purpose Even When It's Hard. I'll make sure to leave a link down below for you to check out. But inside of this book, I shared about an incident that I had with a former supervisor. And so I was applying. Well, at this time, I thought I wanted to apply. I ended up not applying. But I was thinking about applying to a local master's of social work program. It was an accelerated program. And so I had asked her, if she would be interested in writing me a letter of recommendation. And she was like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind. Like, she was so excited about it, right? Mind you, she was my supervisor for an entire month during my internship, during my bachelor's. All of my reviews they went perfect. I had great reviews, no feedback, because that was the time that we got feedback on how we could be better and things of that nature, right? Never received any of that. I had no inclination that she had a problem with me. So she ended up writing a recommendation, and the way that the application worked at this time was that you submitted all of your materials together. They submit their letter inside of a sealed envelope, and it's sealed and closed over with their signature so that you don't open it. Well, I decided to not apply to that school that year because I found another school that I felt was closer aligned with what I desired. And so this time around, something told me to not ask her to be a recommendation. And so I didn't ask her to be a recommender. I got into the accelerated program, ended up being amazing in the program, became social work student of the year for the entire state. Like, everything was amazing, So I was moving. So basically, before the end of that, when I was moving to go start my program, I was going through old documents and I came across my old application project envelope with everything in there. And I decided to open it up and read it. And I don't know why, because we were allowed to read it if we wanted, but I had just waived it but I was like, okay, I just want to know what was said. When I said she rated me low for everything and said she does not recommend me, y'all. I said, whoa. When looking back at that incident, I realized the things that she had going on in her life, the stress that she had going on in her life, and then seeing me being a new social worker in this field, having all of this, potential for what I'm working on, and I have all this zest and excitement, that's threatening. And so that's an example of a hater and that energy, but it also shows how her personal experiences had a lot to do with why she hated on me. And so one of the big things that it's important that we internalize during this process of going through this conversation is that when someone is hating on you, it has nothing to do with you. I mean, you're the trigger, but it's exactly that. It's just a trigger of something that they have going on inside of them up here. And we're going to get into that a little bit, but it's a trigger. It has nothing to do with you and everything about them. And that's one of the big pieces of it, because the energy of that hateration, it wants to shift your mood. It wants to shift your energy. It wants you to feel as if you are unloved. It wants you to feel as if you are not good enough. So you learn not to feed it. I'm going to need to get some more water. Now, it is important to add in here that everyone that is perceived to be a hater is not really a hater. Some people really are giving just valid feedback, right? But what you want to pay attention and look at is how are they giving that feedback? And what space are they giving that feedback? Unless you open it up to be in a public space, why is it there, right? And so within this and understanding the perception, for example, in my situation, she could have easily addressed these items during my review time and my supervision time that we had during the time of me working on my bachelor's degree, to work through any of those issues. And so that, if she would have done that, then she wouldn't have been seen as a hater. She would have been seen as someone who, and she cares about my growth. She cares about me becoming better at what I'm doing, right? But she gave me all good remarks during that time. But when it came time to me get my MSW, something that she did not have, it became an issue and a problem. And so we do want to look at a lot of times, sometimes it's not that they're hating and they're just giving critical, you know what I'm saying, they're giving valid feedback. But then sometimes they really are hating, and understand the why they may be hating, okay? And remember, it has nothing to do with you. And so, believe it or not, a lot of people that hate, all of them do not hate intentionally. All of them do not know what they're doing. They do not realize that they are hating on you. They do not realize that they are causing you an issue. Now, some do, but some don't, because it's so ingrained inside of them to react and act a certain way. So it's similar to like a machine or a ride. So if you've ever been young before and you've gone to like the grocery stores and they had those like little penny horses or something, right? You know, if you put a penny in that horse, the horse is gonna, okay? Shout out to my people who live where there's a mire. You understand where I'm coming from, okay? But you know what you're going to get. The input gives a certain output. That is the same way when it comes to your haters. And especially your haters who hate on you unconsciously. I just heard Jill Scott's song, "Hate on Me, Hater, Now or Later." Okay? Go on and hate on me, hater. Okay, sorry, that just popped in my head. But anywho, you can hate on me. A hater may not know that they are hating on an individual if what happened to trigger their reaction was just like a natural reaction, something that they were used to. So to them, it appears to be normal. Or it could be if they grew up in a space or setting that did this type of stuff and it was normal to them, they may not see it as a bad thing because they've done this all the time. They did this growing up. They did this with their parents. They did this with their siblings, okay? And so they come across other individuals as they get older and they expect that that same thing happens with them. So depending on their current conscious level of understanding of everything that is going on, that determines how conscious they are of their hating and what they are doing, okay? And that goes back to the subconscious mind. It goes back to how much space the subconscious mind is taking up. It goes back to how much trauma has happened to the brain and the mind to the point where it affects the storage. It affects the output. It affects the ability for it to perform to its optimization because of these other issues that have happened to traumatize the brain, to traumatize the subconscious. And I can't even really say traumatize the subconscious, it's more so reprogram the subconscious. So it's basically telling the subconscious a new story to follow, to accept, to see as being truth. So for example, in the mind of your haters, they can, in their mind, they can have a certain situation made up inside of their head. This situation can be of what they desire, what they want to do, what they're working towards. Now, in that, say they are not doing the things in their waking life that relates to the subconscious desires that they hold. So this relates a lot to my book that I have, The Universal Theory of Magic and Pleasure. And in that book, I basically share the aspect of we are always co-creating with the universe, whether we know it, whether we accept it, whether we are knowledgeable and conscious about it or not, we are still always co-creating with the universe around us. When this person is not co-creating with life and reality in the way that their subconscious would like for them to, whenever they come up against anyone or anything that appears to be some type of threat to the livelihood of that need or that want or that desire, they have an automatic reaction to that. And so the automatic reaction may be hating. The automatic reaction may be going off on you. The automatic reaction may be withdrawing away from you. But the automatic reaction will always be there because the subconscious and the socialization of it is going to find this as being a threat to them. And the threat is stronger when this person is insecure with their relationship with that subconscious desire that they hold. So most times you will find that when someone is hating on you, it's because they desire something that you have, or they desire to do something that you do, or they desire to be in the place that you are in. Most times it's because you are doing something that they desire to be connected to, or they desire to have a stronger or closer relationship to. Now, can there be people who appear to have more than you who are haters? Yes. But you have to remember, it's what you measure things against. So you could be measuring that, oh, this person is better than me and they're greater than me because they have more money, or they have more followers, or they have a better job, they have a bigger house, they have a better car. But in this person's mind, they could be wishing that they lived a life of freedom. So when they come across another person who lives the life of freedom that they desire, they begin to innately begin to hate, basically, because that person is living what they desire, and it becomes a threat because they get triggered. Your haters are simply triggered. Some may say it's a trauma response or a trauma trigger. Others may say it's just a simple, ooh, I felt that. But whatever way you look at it, what's going on is that this person has had an adverse effect or reaction to something that you've done or something that you give off. Because haters don't have to just be there because you physically done something. It could be because of your physical energy. So remember, in the previous video that was done on the channel, I shared the effects of trauma on the brain and the subconscious, how it forces the brain to react, how it can change the actions. So when we're looking at trauma, we're looking at triggers, I do recommend checking out that video if you have not seen that video, to go deeper and understand just how it connects with some of the things that I'm going to be mentioning, okay? So basically, in this instance of with the hater, of what is happening is that their prefrontal cortex can only operate based off of what books are available to them. They can only operate based off of the workload that they have, okay? So if they have, remember what we went over in that video, and I strongly recommend that you check it out. But remember, in that video, for example, if you have a lot of trauma, it causes more work on the librarian, okay? So if this person has a lot of work going on with the librarian because of what they have going on, when something else is introduced, it's a trigger. It affects them. And it can affect them negatively from their personal perspective because of how they choose to react to it. And so because of the work that the prefrontal cortex has to go through during this time, it then affects their output, which then affects the reaction that goes to the amygdala that shares how the emotion should be coming out. Because remember, the amygdala is what puts out the different emotions of what should be felt in a situation, okay? And so that's how it travels from one space to the next to be like, you should feel this way. So when it gets to that space and it's like the emotion that you should be feeling is anger, or the emotion that you should be feeling is jealousy, it's because of the input of what has happened, which most times relates to what they have not done and on the inside want to. This stuff gets deep. I'm interested in hearing you all's thoughts down below in the comments as I'm going through this conversation, though. I definitely want to hear you all's feedback. So some of the reactions that they could be sending as messages through their brain, through their mind, could be, this person is a threat. This person is better than me. I'm never going to reach what I want to do. There's not enough room for all of us. I'm too far behind. I'm late. So remember, in the previous video that was done on the channel, I shared the effects of trauma on the brain and the subconscious, how it forces the brain to react, how it can change the actions. So when we're looking at trauma, we're looking at triggers, I do recommend checking out that video if you have not seen that video, to go deeper and understand just how it connects with some of the things that I'm going to be mentioning. Okay, so basically in this instance of with the hater, of what is happening is that their prefrontal cortex can only operate based off of what books are available to them. They can only operate based off of the workload that they have, okay? So if they have, remember what we went over in that video, and I strongly recommend that you check it out. But remember in that video, for example, if you have a lot of trauma, it causes more work on the librarian, okay? So if this person has a lot of work going on with the librarian because of what they have going on, when something else is introduced, it's a trigger. It affects them. And it can affect them negatively from their personal perspective because of how they choose to react to it. And so because of the work that the prefrontal cortex has to go through during this time, it then affects their output, which then affects the reaction that goes to the amygdala, that shares how the emotion should be coming out. Because remember, the amygdala is what puts out the different emotions of what should be felt in a situation, okay? And so that's how it travels from one space to the next to be like, you should feel this way. So when it gets to that space and it's like the emotion that you should be feeling is anger, or the emotion that you should be feeling is jealousy, it's because of the input of what has happened, which most times relates to what they have not done and on the inside want to. This stuff gets deep. I'm interested in hearing you all's thoughts down below in the comments as I'm going through this conversation, though. I definitely want to hear you all's feedback. So some of the reactions that they could be sending as messages through their brain, through their mind, could be, this person is a threat. This person is better than me. I'm never going to reach what I want to do. There's not enough room for all of us. I'm too far behind. I'm late. So what can you do when faced with haters? What can you do when faced with people who are determined to find ways to sabotage you, who are determined to find ways to bring you down or make you feel a certain type of way? And I can't just tell you what you should do. I can give you feedback. I can give you suggestions. It depends on your own personal makeup and what you prefer to work towards. So do you prefer to be the alchemist who uses like the energy of knowing that you have haters and to motivate you to keep going or to keep working? Or do you use that time to try to figure out and wonder why they don't like you? Now, what I will say is that whichever answer that you decide to go with, it relates to your own personal brain makeup, thought process, and perception. And so I can't tell you which way to follow, but I can tell you what the potential consequences of what can be from each one. And the aspect is that now that you are hearing this session, you're able to be more open-minded and understanding of, this is what hating looks like. Because so now you're going to be more open to noticing it, calling it out, and making sure that you're reflecting within yourself that you're not doing any of these characteristics. As for the people, they're just going to stay haters until they decide to become active co-creators in that area of their life. But one of the easiest things and most efficient for you would be to not even focus and worry on them, to not worry about why they hate, why they don't like you, and to just let the energy of it fuel you. That's my suggestion. Because when you allow it to fuel you, it's like you're taking that in and you're categorizing it into your brain. Do you want that to be in your brain? Do you want that to be a key memory that affects how you relate or how you communicate? And when you think about it like that, it makes it easier for you to be able to detach from the whys, why people do this, why this person is doing that. Because you realize, I really don't want this energy in my life. So inside of the mind of the hater is simply someone who is taking a passive route of life. They are someone who is unaware of their own personal triggers. They are unaware of their subconscious desires. They are unaware of the effects of their actions on others around them. And as you identify someone being a hater, it will probably be a good idea to make sure to not spend too much time around this person. Unless you want that energy to rub off on you. Unless you want to start seeing the world the way that they do. Because if not, you'll find yourself running around here with triggers and hating because you've reprogrammed yourself to be in alignment with that. Now, it's also best to not try to make sense of what the hater hates on, okay? So you will sometimes find yourself with a hater of something that you're just like, I'm not even good at that, or I don't even like that, or you may not see just what the big deal is to them when it comes to this thing, right? And sometimes it's because we lower ourselves. We don't really see our worth, okay? Other people see our worth before we see our worth, but you're working on that, okay? And with that though, you may not understand like, well, wow, why would someone want to hate on me in this area? Like, what about me causes them to do this or to act this way? And sometimes it's energy, sometimes it's something really small, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to just individualism, okay? They have different experiences and different perceptions of those experiences. And you never know what it could be. It could be a trigger or trauma from an old girlfriend, an old family member, an old coworker. It could be from anything. And it's not your job to attempt to try to figure it out unless you want to, okay? That could be your job if you want to. But if you don't want to, don't wreck your brain trying to figure it out, because when you wreck your brain trying to figure out, now you're internalizing it and you're adding that to your subconscious. You're adding it to your memory. You're adding it to your books now. And so really be conscious of what you're okay with adding to your memory, what you're okay with adding to your subconscious, because it's not always worth it. So that is our conversation for today on this topic. I am very interested in hearing from you all down below, your perspectives, your feelings, your thoughts in regards to the topic, suggested topics of other things that you would like for me to go into and talk about. But this one, as an overall, know that there's going to be haters everywhere. And so just act accordingly. You don't have to internalize it. And so I thank you all for being here. Definitely let me know down below how you all are feeling. Any questions, any feedback. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you do not miss any upcoming sessions. If you're interested in any coaching or hypnotherapy regression sessions, feel free to check out the links and things down below. And if your organization is in need of professional development around trauma-informed care and the reprogramming of the subconscious, definitely check out my website at moenicole.com to see if you are a good fit for my professional development program that I have. I look forward to seeing you all in the next session. Have an amazing rest of your day. Bye. And we are now tapping out. I am turning off the faucet and we're tapping out.